Hello and welcome to part 2 of SE6, The Knife, filmed in the heart of Transylvania. And if you stayed through part 1, kudos to you. Now, I don't exactly remember how long ago it was that I got this knife. I got it in a trade. Maybe I'll write that in the description. It was almost brand new. It had some markings on the sheath and on the handle, but the coating was intact. You could see the factory grind lines from the factory sharpening. I wasn't using the hatchet, which I traded for this knife. The guy wasn't using the knife, so I think it was a great trade. I wanted to test out an SE6 for quite some time. I like the Hunglas, I like the 4, I like the 3. The 5 is a great pry bar. I had the Zula. It's useful, but SE knives are a bit strange. A lot of people complain that the handles are off, that blah blah blah. That was sort of my opinion with this knife in the beginning. The handle is a bit thin. The blade stock is very thick, and they say it comes with a 20° per side edge angle. That's a joke, because this now is a 20° per side edge angle, stropped to the max. And it holds an edge quite well, but in the beginning it had about a 35° per side edge angle, and I've had the SE4 of a friend, which was exactly the same, a very steep edge angle. So what they say versus what is, two different things. However, the heat treatment that SE puts on these blades, 1095, is great. I don't know how their 440C is, or they use other steels now. No idea about that, but I do have a few SE knives with a 1095 blade, and they're awesome. Now this one, it was the grind is a bit thinner than I expected it to be, honestly, and I like that. I like that very much. The edge angle was about, I don't know, about a 30° per side edge angle, and I kept that edge angle for a very long time. I used it for batoning, firstly, to see if it fails or not. In my opinion, something like this is not going to be used for slicing tomatoes. Its primary function is probably as a survival knife, and it should be able to take care of those tasks, abuse. And I think that if you get a tool and don't test it harder than you would actually need to use it, that's a mistake. If this knife would break right now, I would be very disappointed. In the beginning, I would have been actually kind of glad, because, well, I would have sent it to SE, they maybe would have sent me one back. It's kind of difficult for where I am. However, that would have been a good thing, because I wouldn't have to rely on a knife that I didn't test, and then it would fail when I needed it. That's my opinion about testing, and Batoning does a great job at that. Now, the SE4 is a tank. I've tested that knife, I've had friends test it, and with what you can put it through out here, it won't break. Sure, you can put it in a vise and hit it with a sledgehammer, it might. Other than that, no. This one, I'm not sure if the grind is a bit uneven. It seems to tilt a bit to this side, but it was at points where it was in a piece of wood and it flexed quite a lot, and when it went through the piece of wood, came right back. That's what it should do. It should have some flex to it. You should be able to baton it. You should be able to chop with it, and it shouldn't sustain damage. Now, I'm not talking about chopping into concrete, but if you're going to chop or baton wood, it shouldn't take any damage, and this one doesn't. So their heat treatment is great. Now, currently it has about a 22-25° per side edge angle, and it does much better. It's a clean edge angle. I strop it. Sometimes I'll steel it. I have that small steel which does an excellent job for bigger blades. You can actually see where you're at, and then you just swipe that steel on the edge if you feel something, but it doesn't take damage that quickly. Dogwood is a very hard wood, and I often find dry dogwood around here, and I chop into it. I didn't have a roll, sometimes you'll feel something on the edge or it won't cut that well, but I didn't see chips in it. Now I don't maintain this edge shaving sharp. Sometimes I will do a better job. Sometimes I'll wash it. Generally, I don't. A lot of people are worried about 1095. You see, 1095 is a carbon steel and it will rust. But I've had no issues with this knife. The coating protects it, surely. However, if you just keep it dry, I don't need to oil it. Just keep it dry and work with it. It won't rust. That is my experience. I don't live in such a humid environment as some other people might. So if you live in an environment like this, where sometimes it rains and your knife gets wet, well, it might. I don't know. If you leave it too long in the sheath and it's wet, you'll probably get some stains on it. Even if you put a patina on the edge, with work, that will wear off and you'll get the fresh steel, which will rust. So, but if you keep the knife reasonably dry and work with it, I don't think you'll have any issues. Now, stock thickness, I don't know what it is. I think it's a bit like, it does have a nice distal taper, and I think right here it might be a bit about 5 or 6 millimeters thick, 1/4 of an inch maybe. I'm not sure. You can see the specs online. It's great. I like the fact that it has a slight distal taper and it has a fine tip, and they have, ESEE knives have this wide blade. For some people, they can feel a bit weird in hand at first, but if you work with it long enough, the ESEE 4 will feel great. It has a slightly thin handle, but it does a good job for what it's supposed to do. And this one, I think it's the right thickness. For my hand at least, it's perfect. I have a friend who modified his. He took the grind up a bit higher. I think he also removed the coating, and he put some extra rubber liners in here so the handle would be fatter, a bit thicker. I've held his knife. I like mine more, the standard version, and I like this when it's just a standard knife that I don't have to search for extra parts. Now, I do prefer my Carta handle scales over wood G10. I prefer, I don't know which one is which one is canvas and which one is linen. I prefer this, like on my ESEE 4, over this. I think this is linen and this is canvas. Not sure. I prefer the ones I have on my ESEE 4, but these do a great job. However, I do not like the G10 handle scales that I have on my ESEE 3, for example. They don't feel right. When this will get wet, it'll go darker, and you'll have good traction on the grip, and it just looks good. Now, I've recently washed this with dishwasher fluid and cleaned it off very well. It was, I think, 2 weeks ago, 1 week ago. And now they have almost no fat on them. But it still looks great. I mean, some wear and tear, but my Carta is just great. Wood handle scales are nice. They feel good in hand. Wood is very warm and very beautiful. However, if you hit a knife that has a wooden handle scales, it might crack, it might break. My Carta, less of a chance. That's why I like it. Now, this protruding tang, which I've mentioned, not the biggest fan of it. For me, doesn't make any sense. You know, I don't break things with the butt of my knife. Don't need to crush things or break windows or anything. It kind of gets in the way of my way of working with a knife. However, I've learned to get around that. Like I said, Barton John's pinky lanyard, patent pending, helps out a lot. I also have that on my ESEE 4. And this small lanyard does turn the ESEE 4 into a decent chopper. It has the weight, and here you see there's a protruding tang, but it's much more comfortable. This one really doesn't bother me. And you can actually chop with this knife, and you have very good control, I might say. Very good. I have to see which side I want to put this in. Yeah, and the ESEE 4 does have the Kydex sheath, which I like the Kydex sheath. I like Kydex. But this is, I think, Zytel or something sheath is decent. The backing, great. I can get it on and off my belt very quickly. And that's what I do. The minute I step inside the forest, I'll put this on my belt. And the minute I step outside the forest, I'll take this off my belt. I don't want to get looks from people. and it just works for me. There are different backings you can use. I have the Molly attachments on this one, but this works great. And for a bigger knife, yeah, it'll rattle a bit, doesn't bother me at all. Like I said, the jimping is there, does not bother me that much. Would it be better if it didn't have jimping? In my opinion, yes, some people like it. The choil is great. It's great for the ESEE4 too, but for this one, I actually see the reasoning behind it. The ESEE4 does not need a choil. It's not bad, it doesn't need it. This one, you can actually benefit from this choil. Even if the blade will come back here, I think you have much better control when you put your index finger in the choil. Now, some people have thicker fingers than me, and they might find it uncomfortable. I don't know, for me, it works. The coating, I like the wear on the coating. Same for my ESEE4, and I'm just gonna keep bringing this up because these are my two favorite ESEE knives. Now, I do enjoy the hungless, it's great, but the wear and tear on the coating is awesome, and the coating is very durable. Now, you can watch my video, see what I did with this knife, and please consider that this knife has been to other people. And a friend of mine told me that he at one point thought it was going to break, that it was very much bent into a piece of wood, and then it just came back. It's heat treatment, great. Now, batoning this knife, I hit the handle scales because I just want to adjust the knife. I don't feel like babying some part of it. Are you supposed to baton wood with a knife? You decide. But when I do baton wood with a knife, I will hit the handle scales. And I've noticed in the past that they have loosened up a bit. So I tried tightening the screws. You have to hold it on one side and tighten on the other because they will rotate. It's not a big issue. If you put some Loctite on it, you're probably not going to get that, and you're probably not going to do the stupid stuff that I do out here with your knife. But I do suggest you testing it just to be on the safe side. You know, ESEE does have that great warranty, and I've seen pictures of knives that have been shot and broken on their page. They made fun of those people, but they are morons for shooting a knife, but they did replace the knife, and that is good. Some people say that, you know, it doesn't matter if it has a no questions asked warranty. If a knife fails, it shouldn't fail. Well, if it has a no questions asked warranty, personally, I will take advantage of that warranty and test my knife as hard as I can. And if it breaks, it'll break in a controlled environment, and I can just send it to ESEE, and in my case, it's probably going to be attached with a video like this and say, it broke. So far, years and years in of abuse, and the knife is holding up great. Edge holding abilities. 1095 is not a super steel. Right now, it's sharp. I stropped it. I do tend to strop my knives just simply because I like to, but I don't think you have to. If you work with this knife, as I did here, you don't need the keenest of edges. It's nice to take care of your knives, and I do that. I like to do that. I enjoy that. And I stropped it. It was shaving sharp. Now, it won't take off hair, okay? I didn't just do what I showed you in the video because I got here a while ago. But it won't hold that super fine edge forever. Now, it's not that batoning that will damage the edge. It's not the shaving feather sticks that'll damage the edge. It's probably the chopping, and it's also probably the dirty wood that has been sitting on the ground here. It's going to be full of dirt, and rocks and sand is harder than steel. They are harder than steel, so they will damage. But this is definitely a sharp edge. You can hear it. I don't know where the mic is on the camera. But you can hear it. It's very sharp, and I can still, without much pressure, do this. Now, with such a big knife, if you want to do small tasks, such as shaving wood for your fire starting, for me, I will have to squeeze my hand to control it more than with a Mora. I found out that no matter what I do, I still squeeze the knife rather hard, harder than I should, and I do get fatigue in my hand. I started doing that on purpose for testing to see how comfortable handles are, and bad habits. So, but your hand will get more fatigued because you have to control such a wide blade. Is a bit more difficult to control with such a steep edge angle. I mean, even now, the edge angle is not as steep as you would find for a regular SE6 or other survival knives, but it's a bit steeper, and you will have to squeeze your hand a bit harder. So yeah, sure, big knives, maybe not meant for all small tasks, but if you don't like the SE6, you might like the SE4. And this one does a great job. I mean, you can reduce, you can thin out the grind, reduce the edge angle, and it'll be just a great knife. How much, how far you want to go with that, that's up to you. For me, this is perfect. Now, I used to take the SE4 with me like I do the 6 now, short hiking trips and stuff like that. Now I take the SE6. Why? I just like to have it there. It doesn't weigh that much. I don't know how much it weighs, but I'll just have it in my backpack or in my Maxpedition, Malaga, the gear slinger. That's not that big, but this knife will fit and it won't bother me. I like to have a knife around with me. It's not for practical purpose, not for survival situations. I like to carry knives and take pictures of them sometimes. It's not that heavy. Now, batoning, chopping, doing all that heavy stuff. A hatchet will do that faster. Safer? I don't think so, but faster. Very inexpensive hatchet will do that very well. Splitting that piece of wood, much easier. You're gonna hit it with your hatchet a couple of times, see how it splits, and then no problem. But are you gonna carry that hatchet? I don't think so. Not when you can carry something like this. That'll actually help you in all your camping chores. Food prep, it does a decent job. Keep it clean, keep it sharp. You can cut your food very well with this, and you can also split a piece of wood and light your fire. Plus, it's cool. I don't know anything about having this in self-defense purposes or something like that. Having it as a tool for your bushcraft camping needs, I think is great. If you're looking for something for a more humid environment, I don't know if ESEE makes a stainless steel version of this. I know they make a stainless steel version of the SE4, but that's about it. For me, the handle is very comfortable. I do want to come back to this. I don't feel the need to adjust it in any way or to get aftermarket scales. I've learned to work around the pommel. So the only hits I could give this knife is this protruding pommel, and maybe the fact that the edge angle wasn't as keen to start with, and the fact that these screws rotate freely, so you have to hold one while tighten the other. Are those problems that concern you? For me, they're not really issues. I've learned to accept more and more knives for the tasks they were built, and to see, is this okay with me? Yeah, it's okay. Only thing I would change would be full handle scales, or not really cut off this part of the tank, because I do enjoy the big handle, especially with gloves. Feels great in hand, and it feels great that you can grab it further by the handle. Gives you more momentum. That's up to you what'll bother you. I just wanted to present you the knife that in a way that you probably didn't see on other channels, because I didn't see a review like this on other channels where people actually show it and go into detail about this knife. Now, there are newer versions of the ESEE knives with bushcraft D handle scales. I have not tested those, nor am I that curious. This is the old model, and it's great. As a small mention, I've just noticed this because I'm looking at the knife as I'm talking. Apparently I didn't. I just tightened the screws. I wasn't very careful of the scales to fit here, but they did not bother my hand. So, and it's probably better that I fix them up like this, where the tang goes inside on this side, then otherwise I would have just hit micarta, not also steel. Very happy with this knife. I don't see anything else replacing it. yeah, sure, I would like to try stuff, but for how much time I invested testing this knife and learning to work with this knife, what it can and cannot do, I'm very happy with it. So, part 2, almost as long as part 1. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about the SE6, add them in the comment sections, and I'll try to get to them as soon as possible. Thanks for watching, and as always, I wish you all a great day.